Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. I am Ryan Bolin. Thank you all for joining me. So, ESPN commentator Stephen A. Smith is now apologizing for the comments he made in reference to Donald Trump's legal plights and how that Donald Trump basically compared himself to the plight of black people. You all know the story, okay? Where Donald Trump essentially said that he found it amazing that black people could relate to him with these accusations against him, and how that blacks in the past and have suffered the same plight, and so he found it amazing. Well, Stephen A. Smith, I think it was in an interview with Hannity is his name, on Fox News, where he essentially, it sounded like he was defending Trump, but whatever the case may be, however way people want to interpret it, apparently a lot of the higher ups are mad at Stephen A. Smith, and so now he's taken upon himself to apologize for what he said. I get so sick and tired of these people apologizing. But look, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read this article here because I want to keep it within context, and then give you my commentary, because I feel there's something I want to say about this, about Stephen A. Smith and what I think he should do from this point on. It's just my opinion, but I think this is what he's going to need to do, because he has to stop being back and forth. He's going to have to make a decision. So let's get right into this, in my opinion. So let's get right into this. Let's see what all the rigmarole is about. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith has apologized for comments he made in which it appeared he was defending Donald Trump, comparing himself to the plight of black Americans. Oh boy. And he says, I'm fully aware that I've been in the news for the last few days, paraded all over social media, as well after comments I made on my appearance on Fox News Hannity last week with the one and only Sean Hannity himself, he said during the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast, and I'm fully aware of the outcry that has ensued because of it. A lot of folks in black America seem pissed at me right now, okay? From friends and loved ones to colleagues, contemporaries, and dare I even say the NAACP itself. Quite a few folks were put off, if not flat out offended, after my words were interpreted as associating support for Trump from the black community with all the legal issues he's facing. For that, I sincerely apologize. I'm trying to understand, what is he apologizing for? What are you apologizing for? Here's what I'm trying to analyze this. What are you sorry for? Are you sorry for? You sound like he was defending Trump. I don't think that was a defense of Trump. You just was trying to show. I mean, he simply was commenting on what Trump had said and how he was being, basically Trump is being attacked by these people, at least the way Trump sees it, attacked by all these legal accusations and so forth, and all these legal problems, and how that Trump felt like, hey, black people can generally relate to me because they have suffered the same thing. That's all I feel Stephen A. Smith was saying. But now he has to get on. So why is the NAACP and all these other people are upset about it? Because notice what he mentioned. He says, a lot of folks in black America seem pretty teed off at me right now, from friends and loved ones to colleagues, contemporaries, and dare I even say the NAACP. It sounds like to me that the black people that are teed off are people within your circle, your liberal friends, your liberal colleagues in the NAACP, which is, I'm not going to even say what that's about. Okay. Them the ones that seem to be offended by what you're saying. It doesn't seem to be like all black Americans are upset with what you're saying, because what you're saying, or your comment on Trump's statement, is accurate. That's what Trump was saying. Regardless of how you feel about him or what you think about him, it was what he was saying. So what are you apologizing for? Let's go on. To be clear, he goes on to say, my words were misconstrued. I'm stating right now, for the record, that my words were taken out of context. Boy, oh boy. Misrepresenting and depicting me in a way I found every bit as insulting and disrespectful as folks in Black America evidently feel about what they thought I said. Well, let me say this, brother. Folks in Black America, I'm gonna dare say this. Most Black people in America are not feeling that way, sir. If we got 40 million Black people in America, you really believe most Black Americans are against what you just said? I don't think so. And he goes on, but I'll own it anyway. Because please know that I know the buck stops with me. Okay. In his appearance on Hannity, Smith, who said his words were taken out of context, said Black people find Trump relatable. Here are the comments. Dan, I say something that night that will probably be termed the most uncomfortable thing that I've ever had to articulate out of my mouth from a political perspective, Smith said to Hannity. But I got to tell you something. As much as people may have been abhorred by Donald Trump's statement weeks ago, talking about how Black folks, he's hearing that Black folks find him relatable because of what he is going through and is similar to what Black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. And he goes on to say, when you see the law enforcement, the court system, and everything else being exercised against him, it is something that Black folks throughout this nation can relate to with some of our historic, iconic figures. We've seen that happen throughout society. Let me say something here, too, about, I want to read a little bit more, and then I'm going to give you this. He says, so no matter what race, what ethnicity you may emanate from, we relate to you when you're suffering like that, because we know we have. And that's what he articulated. As unpopular as it was, as much as we didn't like to hear it, it's the truth. Let me say this about this statement that Stephen A. Smith supposedly said in reference to Trump. He keeps using the word we in reference to Black Americans. And it's amazing how liberals use the collective. Okay, they always use the collective. We Black Americans, we had the same suffering. Let me put you like this. I'm gonna personalize it. I've never had that kind of experience, so I'm not going to sit up and feel bad and feel like put it to you like this. I'm not going to look at what Trump said and what he said and be like, yeah, man, I understand you feel, because as a Black American, I've had the same thing. I'm not going to say that, and I'm going to dare say this. Most Black people in America in 2024, okay, I'd say from the teens on up to the 20s, and maybe I'd even stretch to the 30s, have not had the experience that a significant number, if not most, Black Americans have had before the 1960s. They're not going to get up here and tell me that. They ain't going to get up and tell me no lie and say they have. Maybe those that are watching this video right now, maybe you've had some of those experiences. Maybe somebody, a white police officer, pulled you over because you were driving while Black. I don't know. Maybe that was your situation. But I dare say most Black Americans today, particularly the teens and in their 20s, probably have not had that experience. You may have a small fraction of it, but I'm pretty sure most of them have not had that experience. So my argument is, if you have not had that experience, then how can you say, I understand what you're saying, Trump, because we's had the same experience? No, you didn't have the same experience. Your ancestors may have had the same experience. Okay. The people in the civil rights movement had the same experience. Okay, they've had that same experience. They were beat, they were pulled over, they were ostracized by driving while Black. Okay, and all this other kind of stuff that's being pushed in Black America today. So we can't really have a legitimate argument unless we have had that personal experience ourselves. But this whole idea of the collective is infuriating to me because everyone does not have that experience. And like I said, I'll dare say that most Black Americans have not had those kind of experiences. Okay, we have not. Let's be realistic. So I can't walk around with a chip on my shoulder and feeling all some kind of, I just can't do that. I can't do it. I can't do it, and I refuse to do it. Let's read further what he has to say. He says, and there's no way around it. There are contributing factors to the state of affairs with the slippage that appeared to be taking fold when it comes to President Biden, unfortunately. In February, Trump was speaking at the Black Conservative Federation Gala in Colombia, South America, hundreds of proud black men. But he goes into details about all of that. We already know what that was about. And like I said, I'm going to end the article right there. We already know Stephen A. Smith had made the statement of what Trump has said and so forth. Well, I'm pretty sure everyone that's watching this video know that what Trump said. Look, it's clear what he was saying. Now, I'm going to say this about what Trump was saying. I'll make my comment about what he's saying and in reference to how he feels that a lot of blacks are supporting him because they feel that they suffered the same plight. And he says it's amazing. Now, I can understand he's trying to get votes and he would cap. I'm pretty sure he's going to capital and is capitalizing off of that perception that a lot of these black people are saying, hey, man, they're attacking you and they've attacked us or attacked our senses. Hey, we all for you. But here's my deal. I don't think there should be a reason to be supportive of Trump. Okay. I don't think you should support Trump because as a black, I'm putting myself as a black man. I don't think I should support Trump because I understand his plight of being attacked and by the legal system falsely. And because as a black man, I've had the same experience or my ancestors have had the same experience. So I'm going to support him. I believe that the support should be based on his policies. Let's look back at his policies and how they affected black Americans when he was running, or rather when he was president. Have any of his policies had a negative effect on black Americans in the 4 years that he was in office? And according to the reports and statistics that I have found, the answer to that is an unequivocal no. So the support should be more or less in reference to his policies. Now, I find it also interesting that the black Americans that support Trump or are trying to get on his side because of all of these legal woes that he's going through, I find it interesting that a decent number of these black Americans that are doing this are from the hood and the inner cities. And I believe that a lot of that is based on a false perception that they have about themselves and white America in reference to them. Because I've said this before, other YouTube content creators have said it before. Most white Americans are not thinking about what black people in the ghetto and in the hood is thinking. They're not. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that in a contrary, evil way, like, I don't care what happened to you, you can drop dead. I'm not saying it in that way. Excuse me. I'm saying they're going about their business. They're going about trying to live their life, go to school, get a job, pay bills, deal with all the stuff that just about every American is dealing with under the Biden administration. They're experiencing it too. And that's what they're thinking about. They're just trying to survive like everybody else, like all black Americans are trying to survive. White Americans are trying to do the same thing. Asian Americans are trying to do the same thing. Mexican Americans are trying to do the same thing. Indian Americans are trying to do this. Indonesian Americans are trying to do the same thing. Everybody's dealing with the same situation. Some may have more money than others, and it may be a little bit easier for them, but then you have to ask the question, why do they have that money? 9 times out of 10, it wasn't inherited. 9 times out of 10, they earned it. They worked for it, which means everybody can do the same thing. The opportunities are there, but that's another story, and I digress. I'm not going to even go into that. The deal is this. I think that blacks should be more supportive of him in the inner cities and in the ghetto, whichever one you choose to call it, because of policies, not merely this idea that, Trump is relatable because, all these legal woes that have been pushed against him have been the same kind of things that have been going on with blacks. Let's be realistic, with black people today, not all. Let's keep it 100. But unfortunately, a lot of blacks in the inner cities and in the ghettos have messed up, flawed perceptions about law enforcement that's been initiated and created and stirred up by the mainstream media and Democratic politicians. Okay, and that is, I'm going to be attacked while driving while black. They're going to pull me over simply because I'm black. That's 9 times out of 10. That's not the case. You're probably more than likely doing something that you shouldn't be doing, and then they're pulling you over. Okay, or you doing it, and I could go all day with this video on this whole issue, but don't do anything. If you feel that's the case, as a black American, then please, for the sake of argument, don't do anything that you think is going to provoke them and have them come looking for you. Because myself, I'm 54 years old, and I'm black as any one of these other black people. Okay, as I said before, I have not had those kind of experiences. The legal system has worked for me per se when I had to deal with legal issues. It wasn't geared against me. It worked for me when I worked it. And I, for the most part, stayed out of trouble. I didn't get involved in gangs, and I didn't sell drugs and get involved in gangs and all of this. I chose not to do those things. I could have done those things. Let me share something. Let me be a little bit transparent with people. I could have done those things. Because somebody might be thinking right now, oh, Mr. Bowling, you had it well. You had it well when you was coming up. No, I did not. I've said this before in previous videos. I've been on welfare 2 or 3 times. And not for a few months neither. But in addition to that, my father didn't live with me. It was my mom that took care of me, okay? My father lived in Tennessee because he had a condition that the doctors told him he had to move to Tennessee. And even when he was in the city of Cleveland, he didn't stay with us. I would spend the weekend with him every other weekend, but he didn't stay with us. So it wasn't like I had a great positive male role model in my life, because in the strictest sense, I did not. And there was every opportunity for me to join gangs. There was every opportunity for me to sell drugs. It was all around me because I lived in the ghetto. But what kept me was God. When I gave my life to Jesus Christ at the age of 16, that's what saved me. That's what got me. I'm not preaching. I'm just saying that's what steered me towards the right direction. But at the end of the day, it's still a matter of choice. It's still a matter of choice, because even if I had never became a born again Christian and started reading the Bible and so forth and going to church and being around a lot of spiritual positive energy, the aura of what I was surrounded by in terms of my mom and so forth. And although they weren't, my mom and others still had this ideology about Republicans and Democrats, that I didn't, altogether could never get. The idea of fooling around with gangs and selling drugs was never really a part of my mentality. Okay. I was surrounded by it, but it just never caught hold of me. And I'm not saying it might not have had I not become a Christian. It maybe could have, or maybe not. Excuse me. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of choices. And what I'm trying to say is that as Black Americans, if you feel like, hey, these white people gonna get me, white cops gonna get me, white Americans after me, then why don't you do things that will keep them off your back? Because I've been pretty successful with it. And I'm about to be 55 June 13th. Now, let me end the video on this, because I said I was going to say this about Stephen A. Smith. Once again, he's coming on here apologizing. I'm so sick and tired of these TV figures and celebrities apologizing. I've said that time and time again. Here's what I think he needs to do. Because to me, he don't know. What he needs to do is make up his mind of what he's going to do and suffer the consequences and stand on what he says. Now, what I mean by this is this. You might just need to leave, Stephen A. Smith, the leftist platform. Because even though they're giving you all this money and spending all this stuff to you, man, you're going to have to eventually leave, because it seems to me that Stephen A. Smith, as well as others, can see the factual data right before them. They see, man, wait a minute, something's not right about this. They're at least thinking a little bit up there. Something's going on up here that's causing them to analyze things and say, man, something is just not right about this picture. It's just not right. And they're bold enough to make comments on it. But when they do, they get slashed by the mob. The liberal, oh God, I want to say something so bad. I can't stand them people, man. But they get slashed by the mob. These brainwashed, mush brain, I don't know what you want to call them, people that can't think outside of a shoebox full of cotton. Okay, you get attacked by them. What I believe Stephen A. Smith and others need to do is just make up their mind, Say what they're going to say, stand on it, and let the chips fall where they may. And if you end up having to leave the leftist platform, leave it. Leave it, leave it, leave it. Leave it. Because those on the right, they're going to take care of you. They're going to take care of you. They're going to take care of you. They're going to, oh man, no, they're going to take care of you. Eventually, he's going to have to make up his mind and make some moves. Just like Tucker Carlson. And I know he's a white man, but the point is that Tucker Carlson, he left off of Fox News. Fox News is supposed to be a conservative platform, a conservative news source. Well, evidently they're still trying to hinder him from saying what he felt he needed to say. So he made the decision. Well, supposedly he got fired, but whatever the case may be, he got fired. That's controversial. What did he get fired over, right? Well, really, he got fired over holding on to a belief system that they didn't agree with, and that's what it was. But I didn't get into all of that. The point is, Tucker Carlson stood his ground. At that point, he didn't take down. Same scenario with Stephen A. Smith. You need to make a decision, man. Say, you know what? I'm getting sick and tired of just apologizing to you guys over and over again. I'm getting sick and tired of saying these things that make sense, and you know it makes sense, but because it doesn't support your narrative, you attacking me and dogging me out and calling me a traitor and all of this other rigmarole and foolishness and stupidity. I'm getting sick and tired of it. Let me get up out of here. I'm well known. People know me. They're going to trust and believe. A lot of people like Stephen A. Smith. And if he decides to leave the liberal platform, okay, and go to the right or whatever, or build his own little thing and become independent, people will support him because from what I understand, he's liked from a lot of people. He's a great commentator. He seems to be fair in some instances. But the problem is he just goes up and down, up and down, up and down. He keeps supporting a narrative that's inaccurate and false. It is, period. About Trump, about blacks, it's false. It's lies. It's delusions. Make up your mind, bro. That's what you need to do. Make up your mind and then stand on it. If you believe it to be true, you stand on it. People will respect you more when you stand on what you believe in, instead of every time you say something you get attacked, you start changing it or apologizing for it. People will not respect you for that. They may still like you, but they're not going to respect you, and they're not going to ask you relevant questions because after all, the way they perceive it, you don't know what you believe in. How could you live a life like that? That's like two split personalities. One personality supports facts and data and reality, and another personality supports delusions. Which one are you going to let take over your physical body? Which personality? Make up your mind, because you can't have both personalities. You can't have the delusional personality and the reality personality operating in the same body, because it's going to be up and down. You're going to confuse the people that's watching you and listening to your commentary. You got to make up your mind which personality that you're going to yield to and let take over your physical body. If it's going to be the delusional personality, stick with it. If it's going to be the factual reality personality, stick with it. And don't let the other personality take over and you be up and down like a yo-yo. So my word was this: stop being a yo-yo. Okay? Stand on the truth, and that's all there is to it, and let the chips fall where they may. So that's what I had to say about this. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. See you again.